I know that in dogs, we use CBD for seizures. Do you know if there's any info for that in cats?
Definitely. And, the first place I want to start with that is the latest research that we've reviewed, and CSU here in Fort Collins, because we're in Colorado, they are doing some phenomenal research on dogs and cats. And one of the latest research studies was on tolerability of cannabinoids, and specifically CBD, with cats. And what they found is, even at extremely high doses, I think it was something like 80 milligrams in a single dose, cats were tolerating it overall really well. There was no severe adverse events. Now, granted, this is a purified form. This isn't like a natural plant extract. And even then, some of the things they viewed in these studies were that they foam or they salivate, but cats typically do that when you put something in their mouth that they don't want. And that's common with all drugs, I'm sure, as a vet. But yeah, the general idea with cats is that they have an abundance of cannabinoid receptors. So we all have this system called a endocannabinoid system. And the way I describe it is, it's like a conductor of an orchestra. And so it's not playing a specific instrument, but it's keeping the flow and the harmony of all those different functions in the body. And it's a chemical balancing system. So what happens with cats or dogs, or even us, is if we have lots of stress, if we have, if we're overweight, if we have lifestyle issues, if we are exposed to all kinds of different insults from toxins, you name it, our endocannabinoid system, and our cats, for this matter, will become deficient or not function as properly as it should. So what we can do is, we can take a plant extract or a botanical extract like CBD, and when they ingest it, it engages that system and kind of reminds that system, hey, we need to balance some stuff out because stuff is out of whack here. And what we're finding with cats, and what I've seen in the research, is that there's an abundance of these receptors in the body, specifically in the gut. And I have a theory about that, and I'm curious to know what you think, is I think one of the reasons why we see an abundance of these receptors in the gut is due to the fact that they have a very fast digestive process. They move food along much faster, and they're able to tolerate much more. So that's kind of my theory on it, is that those receptors and that system has to be it has to perform very well in that environment when they're passing things through very quickly. But it also, at the same time, if they're feeding low quality diets and stuff, can be affected much more quickly as well.
Yeah, but the digestion, having those receptors there, since the gut has a lot to do with balancing your nervous system, maybe it has to do with that as well.
Yeah, I think with all of us, people, dogs, cats, our gut is the root of our health. And it's so funny. I talk a lot about, the gut brain axis, and why we address the gut with a lot of our products, simply because if we can address gut issues and inflammatory responses in the gut, a lot of times that balances mood.
Yeah, it goes back and forth. So your gut will influence your nervous system, which then influences your immune system and everything else. And then in turn, your nervous system will affect your gut. So it's very important to support all those systems.
Absolutely.
Very cool. So it's really nice to know that it's very hard to overdose, or basically sounds at this time, it's impossible to overdose on CBD. Obviously, if you're using a product that's designed for cats, that's, I think, a higher confidence level you could have with that. Some human products might have additives that may not be safe for cats. So just keep that in mind too, that if there's other essential oils or other flavor additives, do be careful with making sure that what you're giving to your cat is designed for cats.
Dr. Barrett, you bring up an amazing point. So many human products have sweeteners and things like xylitol, which are toxic to animals. But
and not to mention contaminants also.
Yes. And we can get it. Yeah, we can get into like how these products are processed, which is kind of not something to just scare people away from, but the reality is even just incorporating essential oils, it's a lot to put on a product when you add these essential oils, even because they're plant extracts. So what, like I started with, when we formulate a product for a cat, specifically an oil, which is where people mostly go when it comes to cats, um, keeping it as simple as possible, just in coconut oil or MCT oil, was really where we came out. Because if we start adding, or pixie dusting, as I call it, with essential oils, these are really complex plant extracts, and a lot of times essential oils are very, very concentrated. So if I'm putting something into a cat's body, it's really complicated on what is actually helping, and how are they going to respond. Because the biggest thing I talk about with any plant extract, or botanical as I call them, is